Hello guys, this is Kazrahim new. Another video series. I told about it on my live streams, I told about it in a few videos that are going to be up after this. But basically I want to make a short series, I think about maximum 5 episodes of how to play War Thunder. And by that I mean I want to show you guys how to effectively play War Thunder and not just derp around in the skies completely. This first episode is going to be more talking. I think it's going to be about 10 minutes, but I'm going to get into explaining a lot of things, and the second episode will be actually me trying to perform the maneuvers that I'm going to talk about right now. So, first of all, let's just get in a... Oh, this is still repairing. Horrible. But we can take a free flight. Realistic battles, yeah, it can be like that. Unlimited without load, purpose, default, yep. Winter camouflage, yep. 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 So, like I'm saying, this is gonna be basically me talking about and flying around in the Focke-Wulf 190, showing you maybe a few things that I wanted to tell you. First of all, first thing you have to recognize, there are two types of avionics fighters. The first one being turn fighters, angle fighters, and the second one being energy fighters. Turn fighters can still manage to be in the same category as per se energy. They can do the same things that energy fighter will do, but I wouldn't count on that much. So we just lift up, and now, like, first thing you have to realize, to know if you're flying an angle fighter or an energy fighter like the Focke-Wulf. The easiest way to check it is, by the words of RamJB, check it on the Wikipedia. There should be some kind of indication that will tell you is it an angle or an energy fighter. And for me, the second preferred and easier method, look at the wings. If the wings are very slim and small, it's an energy fighter. Energy fighters don't need large wings. They actually prefer being very slim, so they can easily overcome the drag that is made while the fighter is going upwards, downwards, climbing, diving, whatever you want. Boom. And like, for example, look at this Focke-Wulf. We have a 30% climb right now. I'm gaining a ton of altitude in a very short amount of time. Focke-Wulfs are fantastic energy fighters, and it isn't even fully upgraded. So I'm just basically gaining altitude, and then when I level it out, even not level it out, I'm flying. Look, it's 15%, 18%. At 20 I'm starting to lose, so 80%, 18%, 18 meters per second climb ratio without using the weapon speed. And I'm not losing, well, now I'm losing a little bit of speed, but I can maintain this kind of angle of climb rate without sacrificing my speed, and I can even gain speed if I really want to. As you can see, now I can gain speed, or I can actually increase the angle. So, what's the difference between an energy fighter and a turn fighter? It basically comes down to the fact that a turn fighter has very large wings, which make a lot of drag, but allow it to maneuver better in the situation where it's in a low energy state. Because fighting in the air is basically a struggle for energy. It's simple physics. Most of you guys should know this. That basically means you either have kinetic energy, so energy that you accumulated, that you can basically call it altitude. Altitude is your reserve, the energy that you have stored and you can use, and you have dynamic energy, I think it's called, which is your speed, which you can exchange for altitude, or you can exchange altitude for speed. Because if you go in a dive, like right now I'm gonna do, I'm not increasing throttle. Look how my speed is going up. I'm gaining a lot of speed, but if I even it out, speed will start dropping to a level, and you can see I gained almost 120 kilometers just by a small dive. And now I can exchange that for altitude, and you can see I'm fairly still in a good position. 250 is usually when you want to level it out. At 160 you're starting to go into a stall. And you can see the Focke-Wulf just preserves energy marvelously. Same goes for the BF-109s. Those planes preserve energy. They either gain very easily or preserve energy that they gain from just the engine power overcomes the natural dragging. Another thing is with the Spitfires. A Spitfire, like I'm gonna show you what's gonna happen when I'm gonna try to play like a Spitfire with a Focke-Wulf. This isn't a turn fighter. It can turn. It has a very nice roll ratio, roll speed. But look what's happening when I'm trying to pull hard-ass maneuvers. First of all, I'm slow, and look what's happening to the speed. Okay, now we actually release flaps to increase the drag. See, I'm not that fast. A Spitfire will already do a full circle twice. I'm not that good. I don't have a lot of wing, that will make the air stop and make the plane turn around itself. But that has one drawback. A lot of people think that if you're in a turn fighter and an angle fighter, you have to use that to your advantage. That's true. But each and every single one of the Spitfires, each and every single one of the Japanese fighters, because those are turn fighters most of the time, is able to perform boom and zoom. Zoom and boom too. Boom and zoom, I said it well the first time. Boom and zooming is having a higher state of energy above your enemy. So like when you watch my live streams, the first thing I always do in the start of the game is go up. I try to gain altitude. I try to be 3 to 5 kilometers above ground. And then I try to pick out targets that are on my level. So if something's on 3 kilometers right now, I would try to go for it. If he's far away from me, I will try to gain a little bit of altitude above him. Like 350, 360, you know, those amounts aren't that significant in arcade, but in historical and realistic, you can really win with just that kind of advantage. You gain altitude, the guy is closing in, he's 2 kilometers away, now you level it out. And wait for his approach. And then it's a question for him, he's looking at you like that. And it's a question, will he try to go vertical and shoot you down? Or will he actually try to neglect your advantage and turn into you or do something like that? So boom and zooming is basically the art of being higher than your enemy and using the advantage that you have from the altitude and the energy state that you have from your altitude to dive down on your enemy, preferred if he doesn't know that you're there. Like I'm 4 kilometers above ground. And my honest idea would be, if I wanted to, for example, shoot down those targets, then I go into a shallow dive, well, a steep dive, line myself up for the shots. If it's a target that's moving, I line myself like this and I try to follow, but in front of him, not exactly at him, but way in front of him. I'm trying to guess where he's gonna be. Now I turned off a little bit of the speed, because the Focke-Wulf can rip his wing off if I'll go too fast. So I'm getting into altitude, aiming, firing, and zoom out. Someone's behind me, dive down a little bit, preserve speed, you're 700 kilometers per hour, he's not gonna catch up. You separate from the enemies, they will give up at some point. And then it's your time to continue on or with the climb. Regain your altitude, regain the energy that you lost, and do it again. Downside of this way of fighting in arcade is that it takes too long. It takes too long to precisely predict where your enemy is gonna be. It takes too long to think how you wanna approach your enemy, what's the best angle, and getting to high altitude. The game doesn't reward you for playing very tactically. Not in arcade. In historical, that's a whole different story. In historical, if you know this, what I'm saying, you can come on top most of the time. If you just buck it up with a little bit of effort and knowledge on how your particular plane flies, you can easily overcome someone's advantage or disadvantage. So that's boom and zooming. Never ever ever try, well, never is a bad word. Don't try to get into a turn fight once you dive down. Once you have that 700 kilometers per hour, don't lose all of your altitude, all of your speed, because you will do something like this. You go in a dive, you see an enemy, instructor trying to dip around. I'm gaining speed, I'm following the enemy, following the route, let's say. I'm following the route, following the route. I have shots, he's turning. I'm turning inside, I'm starting shooting, he's turning inside, I'm starting to turn up with him. Look what's happening to the speed. First of all, he's already over here, and he's slowly getting on my back, and look how much speed I lost. And now if I want to separate myself, look, I'm trying to get separation. I'm flying 470 kilometers an hour. I'm not gonna get separation. I'm too slow. 100 kilometers per hour is a huge difference in War of not War of Tanks, in War Thunder. That's basically the margin between life and death sometimes. Of course that's over exaggerating, it's a game, but you get my general drift. And don't go flying a Focke-Wulf like this, like it's 300 meters from the ground. A BF-109 also, you like fly around, you search for something, oh it's a target, da 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 da. Target destroyed, da 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 da. Target destroyed, we go up, oh there's a new target, let's turn. Oh there's a target over there, let's fire. Da 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 da. And I saw targets on the left, And you fly like this. You're not using any, look how long it takes for me to actually turn into to get those guys. And I almost crashed while doing that. So never try to make your plane do something it's not particularly good at. If you're a Focke-Wulf, if you're an energy fighter, Americans are energy fighters, Russians have both type of fighters, but more energy fighters than actually twin fighters. Germans have typical energy fighters. The Germans made the whole concept of how to fly. They made the best fighters in World War II. They made the Focke-Wulfs, which were dreaded, and everyone feared them so much because they were so good at what they did. They were energy fighters, they had an advantage in altitude above you, they had an advantage in speed while at that altitude. You were in a lower energy state, you will lose if you don't do something very smart. And believe me, not offending anyone, but including myself, I still have problems fighting someone who's in a higher state of energy than I am. I can win dogfights that don't start with a head-on, but it's not something I take for granted. It's not something I can do all the time. So that's about energy fighters and angle fighters. Angle fighters, they can always act like an energy fighter. You can always gain altitude, but you will gain that altitude way slower. You will never get the same kind of altitude a Focke-Wulf gets in the same amount of time with the same amount of speed. Your engine is not good enough. You have a lot of drag made by your wings, and Focke-Wulfs don't. It's a big engine strapped to a plane. It's just basically the same thing as the P-47 Jug. the P-47 just gains altitude like a madman because it's a gigantic engine attached to a gigantic body, but it has enough horsepower to pull its weight. So always try to gain even that tiny bit of advantage. Have that altitude, and then when you see some action below, you dive down, you anticipate where your enemy is going to be, shoot him a few times. If the situation goes wrong and you see someone on your back and you cannot outrun them because you won't. Spitfires are not that fast, so you shoot, and now there's someone on the back. Then you start using your advantage in turning. You go and never go completely sideways. Always try to go vertically, at some degree vertical, because if you don't, you're gonna have a hard time trying to do something. You get behind them, you try to fight. If not, you separate, you try it again, and so on and so forth. You constantly try to gain a better position against your enemies. But well, that's basically one thing. Second thing I'm gonna talk about, because this video will be closing in a few minutes. So the last 5 minutes I want to talk to you about situation awareness. Situation awareness, situation awareness. What that means? Map, fucking map. That basically means you, in the right upper corner, you have the map. The radar, per se. Use it. When you see something on the radar, try to find it. Don't dive down in furballs. Furballs are a group of like 7 or 8 enemy players against 3 or 4 of your players. Or even it can be even. But if you go into that furball, you're 90% of the time dead. Because when you line up a shot on someone, there's 3 or 4 guys that have potential shots on you. You can do that, but you really have to be constantly aware of where your enemies are. So like, I'm flying right now, and suddenly I would see on the radar that a Focke-Wulf is on the second circle right in front of me. So I would check where that Focke-Wulf is. Is he below me? He's below me. How much is he below me? What the distance is? If he's above me, how high? What kind of speed does he have? Can I climb to his altitude? Will I get in a position when I'm doing this while he's diving on me? Just constantly thinking on how to make the rules of engagement act in your favor. The instructor is completely derping. This guy doesn't have an idea how to fly a plane. So you have to have that in the back of your head. Second thing about situation awareness. When you're fighting, don't fight blindfolded. Okay, there's a fighter right in front of you. It's 300 meters. There's a Yak 2. You want him dead. You shoot. You constantly shoot. Do you see me doing any maneuvers? Yeah, I'm just adjusting my aim. And there's 3 guys behind me. And I want to get the kill. I get shot down. I go down. I lost a rank 3 plane for a Yak 2, which is what, rank 1 or 2. And he's still alive. Always be mindful of where you are. Always be mindful of where your enemies are. Always be mindful of how you can overcome the difficulty of actually trying to find your enemies. Never position yourself in a situation where you don't know what's all around you. I know it can be hectic in some cases, but believe me, 90% of the time you will be able just to check where's the enemy, how they are flying, where they are flying, what is happening, how is it happening, and try to anticipate on what's gonna happen. Because if you won't, you're dead. Simple as that. It's as simple as that. You never will be good if you don't pay attention to the radar all the time. And that also goes for looking around. You have a button that's used for just looking around. Your plane will still fly in the direction you point it, or if you use manual controls, then it will fly exactly the way you tell it to. But you can look around, you can check where your enemy's at. Another big factor for it is you spot enemies in front of you. And guys, don't think that your pilot While sitting here, we'll be going like this. Achtung! Oh, very wunderbar. That you're gonna look around. Now, if something's in front of you, your pilot's gonna spot it. And if something's on your back, on your sides, left or right, below, above, your pilot will spot it way, way, way too late. You will spot it when the enemy is around 1.5. Okay? That's not a lot. 1.5, that's... If you're in a dive position, that's really not a lot. And that's how you die. So yeah, really, really, really pay attention to the radar. Pay attention to what's happening around you. Pay attention to your enemies. If you see your friendlies getting shot at, get on their back. Shoot down the last enemy. The furthest away enemy from your teammates. If you start shooting from the closest, the moment you cross paths with that guy, you have guys behind you. If you shoot the last guy and continue on forward, they don't know what hit him. Most of them will try to break free, will try to break off. That gives more time for the fighter that is occupied by, that is shot at, to get loose. And if he gets loose, he can and will try to shoot down the guys that were shooting him. Use your teammates. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope I actually made you think about a few things. If you have any kind of comments or questions about what I was talking in this video, and it was just basically talking about angle fighters and energy fighters and what are the two, then feel free to ask, send me emails, whatever, or how you want contact with me. I will try to explain it. I will be making more videos. The next video will be actually showing you what I mean in flight, in game. I will try to get a good game where I can show you how to fight with other enemies, with other players, how to use your advantage, how to use your energy, how to use your guns, whatever. I will do those videos and I will explain everything for you guys. But that's all coming for... look forward to that, basically. Thank you all for coming. I hope you had a good time and you learned something. I'll see you next time on the battlefield or on the fields of Europe. Cheers.